morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Law and Policy Today, where we explore the legal framework shaping our world economy. I am your host, Mr. Francisco Fernandez, and today we dive deep into one of the most influential international trade agreements, the GAAT agreement, the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Today our discussion consists of 9 panel members. So our first panel member is Hansi. So good morning, Hansi.
Good morning, Francis.
So Hansi, could you introduce what GAAT is and explain the historical context in which it was created? So over to you, Hansi.
Actually, the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade is a legal agreement designed to promote international trade by reducing barriers like tariff and quotas. Signed in 1947 by 20 countries and established in 1948 after the Bretton Woods Conference. GAAT was made to be part of the International Trade Organization. When the ITO failed, GAAT became the main international body regulating trade. When focused on removing trade barriers to boost economic cooperation and growth. It aimed to aid post-World War II economic recovery.
So thanks, Hansi. So for the next question, I would like to invite Sandali, right? So my next question is about the objectives of the GAAT agreement. So Sandali, good morning.
Good morning, Francisco. Actually, the main goal of GAAT was to make international trade easy and fairer. First, it focused on reducing tariffs and trade barriers, so countries could trade more freely. For example, average tariffs in developed countries dropped from over 40% in 1947 to under 5% by the 1990s. And second, it promoted equal treatment through the most favored nation rule, meaning all member countries had to give each other the same trade benefits. And third, GAAT worked to promote fair competition by discouraging unfair practices like dumping and heavy subsidies. And fourth, it aimed to support economic growth, especially in war-torn and developing countries, by improving their access to global markets. And fifth one is it focused on clear and predictable trade rules which help businesses and investors to feel more confident. And last one is GAAT provided a way to solve disputes peacefully without using threats or unfair actions.
So thank you very much, Sandali, for your kind elaboration on that. Now let's move to the main key provision of the GAAT agreement. So for this purpose, I would like to invite Dilakshi, which is unable to come physically here today. She will be joining from the UK High Court.
Good morning, Francisco. I'm sorry that I could not be joined with you physically for this discussion. To answer your question, the most favored nation MFN principle is cornerstone of both GATT and WTO agreement, ensuring that equity in international trade by mandating non-discrimination among the member nations. So, 17th and 19th century, this MFN principle evolved into a more formalized concept, and the conditional MFN clauses were benefits were extended only if the recipient country reciprocated. So, in the mid of the 19th century, these MFN clauses were widely used in trade treaties, particularly among the European nations, Latin American states, and Japan. So, after the 20th century, this MFN principle became more cornerstone of modern trade agreements, including the General Trade Agreement of Tariff and Trade in 1947 and later World Trade Organization. And under this framework, so MFN treatments ensure the non-discrimination among the member nations. So the equal treatment, promoting fairness, scope of application, exceptions, and the global stability are the main features. Equal treatment means that the country offers the benefit or trade concessions such as lowering tariffs or granting access into the markets. Likewise, and the promoting fairness means that the principle helps to prevent of favorism that is particular for one country, and the scope of application means that the MFN covers various aspects of trade, including tariff, quotas, and other measures affecting the trading goods and services. Exception means when MFN is generally applied, there are specific exceptions that the other nations, especially developing nations, can get benefits from that, and the maintaining consistent trade policies that helps to global stability. So this is the main features and the things included in the MFN principle. Thank you.
Now let's move to a key principle, the most favored nation. So for this purpose, I would like to invite Malsha, right? So Malsha, could you explain its legal significance and how it promotes non-discrimination in global trade? So very good morning to you, Malsha.
Good morning, Nancy.
So over to you.
Our selected agreement is aligned with the key World Trade Organization principles. First one is most favored nations principle. It covers in Article 1. It ensures non-discrimination by requiring equal trade advantages for all members. And secondly, in Article 3 explain the nation treatment principles mandate equal treatment for imported and domestic goods. In thirdly, Article 10 covers transparency. It promotes clear and accessible trade rules. In tariff reduction explained in Article 2, it supports to lower trade barriers. In Article 11, explain qualitative reduction fostering free trade. In Article 13, ensure fair discrimination of any imported quotas. Finally, Article 17 requires state enterprises to trade fairly and without discrimination.
So, thank you very much, Malsha, for your kind elaboration with articles and provision from the GAAT. Right?
Thank you, Francisco.
Now it's time to go for a break. Let's see you again soon with Law and Policy Today. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Law and Policy Today. So now I would like to invite Sheshani Bandara to elaborate on how this principle was interpreted in the case law of Mafficini versus Spain.
Good morning, Francis. So, in the Mafficini versus Spain case, it is mentioned that Mafficini is an investor from Argentina who wanted to use better rules from another agreement that Spain had with Chile. So, he used the MFN rules to do this, and the court agreed. At that time, it chose that the MFN rule can be used not only for trade but also in legal matters.
So next, Sheshani, could you elaborate about Spain versus coffee and Japan versus lumber case?
Yes. I will take Spain versus coffee in 1981 as the second case. So in here, Spain imposed lower taxes of coffee imported from some countries rather than other countries, mainly former colonies, while changing higher taxes on coffee from other GAAT member countries. So this was considered unfair because the MFN rules requires all countries to be treated equally. And also in the Japan lumber cases in 1989, the court highlighted that Japan had imposes higher tariff and restrictions on lumber imports from certain countries rather than other countries. And this was also against the MFN rules. So the court said Japan was wrong and reminded that all countries must be treated equally according to the MFN rule. So thank you.
So now we are going to move to the next provision, that is national treatment. For that purpose, I would like to invite Malshi. So a very good morning to you, Malshi.
Good morning, Francie.
So could you please elaborate the national treatment provision?
Yes, Francie. Actually, national treatment is a key principle in the WTO found in Article 3 of GAAT. It means that once imported goods enter a country, they must be treated the same as local products. This includes how they are taxed, sold or regulated. The goal is to prevent unfair treatment that protect domestic industries. For example, in the Japan alcoholic beverage case, Japan taxed imported alcohol more than local drinks. The WTO said this was unfair. Similar ruling happened in the US gasoline and Canada autos cases. For developing countries, the WTO allows special and differential treatment. This gives them more time to follow the rules, technical help, and some flexibility to support their industries like through tariff or certain subsidies. In summary, national treatment ensures fair competition while helping developing countries grow.
So really that was a very wonderful insight about the national treatment principle. So thank you very much, Malshi.
Thank you.
Now let's move to the non-discrimination clauses under the GAAT agreement. For that purpose, I have invited a friend from my school time, Udar. So good morning, Udari. So over to you.
Under GAAT 1947, non-discrimination is the core principle ensuring fairness in global trade. Article 8 mandates that quantitative restrictions like import quotas must be applied equally to all countries, no favoritism, just fair allocation based on trade history. Article 6 bans discriminatory imports and exports, restrictions allowing only duties and taxes. Transparency through Article 10 ensures trade laws are published, are informally applied and reviewable. Article 5 protects goods in transit, banning discrimination based on origin or destination. Article 7 and 10 guarantee fair custom valuation for all. And World Trade Organization ruling like Japan alcoholic beverages and Spain coffee reinforce these rules. Together, these provisions ensure treatment, build trust and uphold fairness across international trade.
So thank you very much, Udari, for your kind insights. Now we would like to move to the salient piece of the GATT agreement. For that purpose, I would like to invite Anju. So very good morning, Anju.
Good morning, Francis.
So it's over to you.
The first feature is reduction of trade barriers. Central objective of GATT was the progressive reduction of tariffs and the elimination of non-tariff barriers such as quotas and subsidies. This was pursued through a series of multilateral trade rounds where member countries negotiated reciprocal concessions. As a second feature, most favored nation treatment. This ensured non-discrimination among trading partners, fostering a level playing field. And the advantage, favor, privilege or immunity granted by one member to product from another country must be immediately and unconditionally extended to like products originating from all another member countries. Third one is national treatment. They have entered the domestic market, treated no less favorably than domestically produced goods with regard to internal taxes, laws, regulations and requirements. Fourth one is reciprocity. The process of liberalization under GATT was based on the principle of reciprocity, where countries exchange concessions of roughly equivalent value. So, when one country reduces its tariffs, it expects reciprocal concessions from others. Last one is consultations and dispute settlement. The agreement provided a framework for member countries to consult on trade issues and to settle dispute through a multilateral process.
So thank you very much. So now we are coming to the latter part of our interview, the real world applicable cases related to GATT. So good morning, Baba. Over to you.
Yes, there are real-world cases that show the GATT agreement works in practice. The one well-known example is Japan alcoholic beverage cases. Japan taxed imported drinks like vodka, whiskey more heavily than its local spirit. This violated GATT's Article 3, which requires fair treatment of imported products. The World Trade Organization ruled against Japan, stating that similar product must be taxed equally. This reinforced the principle of non-discrimination. Another case is Korea beef, where Korea had a separate selling system and quotas for imported beef. The World Trade Organization said this unfairly restricted trade and violate GATT rules. The third example is Brazil retraded tires. Brazil banned imported tires to protect the environment but allowed some countries to bypass the ban. The World Trade Organization said the rule must be applied equally to all, showing that environmental protection is allowed, but it must not be discriminatory. These cases prove the GATT ensure fair, rule-based international trade.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, panel members, for your amazing responses. So I hope the audience could be able to gather a real-world knowledge regarding the GATT agreement. So thank you very much for all the panel members for joining today with us. See you again with another episode of Law and Policy Today. Have a nice day.